Good morning, Tigers, and welcome back to the world's greatest elementary school. Tigers, we hope you all had a terrific 3-day weekend and hope you got a chance to say thank you or honor a veteran that you may know. We are excited for another great week. I wanted to say a special thank you to our 3 5th grade classes for the assembly that they led last Thursday to honor our veterans. Way to go, 5th graders. And a very special thank you to Mrs. Moore for all she did to help lead that very special assembly. Our Tiger TV video production crew will be sharing some highlights of the assembly next week on Tiger TV.
Oh, looking forward to that. Okay, Tigers, this week is a normal week of school. Today through Thursday, we'll dismiss at 3:20, and then on Friday, we'll have our normal 1:20 dismissal time. Next week's a little bit different. Monday and Tuesday will be our normal 3:20 dismissals, and then on Wednesday, we'll have a half day. Lunch will be served next Wednesday, but you'll have a modified lunchtime. And then on Thursday and Friday of next week, we won't have school because of Thanksgiving. We know that in the past, elementary has had early release days the entire Thanksgiving week due to conferences. However, elementary conferences will now be moved to January. Now, if you have a sibling in middle school or high school, they will have early dismissals next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But remember, at Shadow Lake and elementaries, we'll have our normal 3:20 dismissals next Monday and Tuesday. And then again, we have that special half day next Wednesday.
Like Mr. Abby just said, next week is Thanksgiving. And in honor of Thanksgiving, we wanted to ask each of you to think about things that you are thankful for. In the lunchroom this week, we're going to ask you to help us with a special project about thankfulness. Our lunchroom staff will give you more details over the next few days at lunch.
Ooh, I'm excited to see that. Tigers, don't forget, this Friday, November 18th, our amazing PTA is going to be hosting that family movie night. Remember, this is a free event for your entire family to come to. You can bring in camping chairs, pillows, blankets, your stuffed animals. We're going to set up the PE mats on the floor, and we're going to be watching a movie on the big screen in the comments. And Tigers, remember, you're going to have a say in that movie that we're watching. PTA is having you vote. Your choices again are DC's League of Super Pets, and the second choice is the movie Rumble. Voting needs to be completed by tomorrow, November 15th, and the movie that gets the most votes is going to be the one that we watch this Friday night at the PTA movie night.
Pretty cool, pretty special that our Tigers get to pick the movie.
Yep.
All right, Tigers, this Friday, our amazing PTA is going to be providing popcorn again during your lunch recesses. As a reminder, popcorn can only be eaten in the covered area. Tigers, let's make sure we show the Tiger way of showing respect, making good decisions, and solving problems while eating our popcorn. If popcorn spills on the ground, let's pick it up and throw it away. Let's keep Shadow Lake and our covered area looking great and keeping it clean. All right, Mr. Abby, this talk of popcorn is making me hungry. I'm wondering, what's for lunch this week?
All right, here is this week's lunch menu. Today, mozzarella cheese sticks. Oh, I like those. All right, tomorrow, Tuesday, is going to be chicken nuggets. Wednesday is going to be super nachos. Thursday is hamburger, and Friday is pizza!
All right, Tigers, it's time to recognize more of our amazing Tigers who have been earning Tiger Paw tickets and were selected in this week's drawing. For kindergarten, we have Sophie in Mrs. Stamp's class, Eliza in Mrs. Hurley's class, Jed in Mrs. Belmondo's class, and Jude in Mrs. K's class. Nice job!
All right, moving on to our first grade winners. Edison, congratulations, you were selected in Mrs. Roberts' class. Shannon, you're the winner in Mrs. Hanson's room. Malia, you're the winner in Miss Yassine's room. Tyler, you won in Mrs. Riley's class. And then Libby, congratulations, you won in Mrs. Nelson's class.
Nice job, first graders. Moving on to second grade, we have James in Mrs. Hortoncamp's class. We have Hazel in Mrs. Kemp's room. Nice job. Oakley in Mrs. Shireman's room, and Desi in Mrs. Meek's class.
Way to go, second graders. All right, moving on to third grade. Sawyer, you were selected in Mrs. Boyle's class. Wengie, you were selected in Mr. McMaster's room. Leif, you're the winner in Miss McGowan's class. And then Eric, congratulations, you're the winner in Mrs. Ogle's room.
Very nice. For 4th grade, our winners are Jack in Mrs. Bradley's class, Jacob in Mrs. Moffat's room, and Aiden in Mrs. Isley's class.
Last but not least, 5th grade! Elijah, congratulations, you're the winner in Mr. K's room. Jarek, you won in Mrs. Lish's class. And then Natalie, you're the winner in Mrs. McCutcheon's room.
All right, winners, when it's convenient for your teacher, they will send you to the office to pick up your prize from the Tiger Paw treasure chest. All right, Mr. Abbey, what's going on with story time today?
All right, today, Mrs. Smith, our Shadow Lake librarian, is going to be reading a nice fall story. It is called Those Darn Squirrels and the Cat Next Door.
Oh, Old Man Fuquire, it's a classic. Boys and girls, you're going to love it. All right, Tigers, we hope you all have a great week. We are hoping to see you and your families at the movie night this Friday. And remember, it's a great day to be a Tiger.
Hey Tigers, welcome back to Storytime. I'm Mrs. Smith, super excited to read another story. All right, our story today is called Those Darn Squirrels and the Cat Next Door. This is written by Adam Rubin. All right, I thought this seemed like a fun one for the season because those darn squirrels are out. All right, here we go. Here it starts. Old Man Fuquire lived on the edge of the forest just outside town. He was a terrible grump, and in the wintertime, he was even grumpier than usual. Whenever it snowed, he would shut his eyes tight and think of summer. He missed sunshine, suntan lotion, and weenie roasts. But most of all, he missed the birds who flew south when it got cold. During the long, lonely winter months, the only critters left in Fuquire's backyard were squirrels. Now, not many people know this, but squirrels are the champions of the forest. They are craftier than beavers, smarter than foxes, and swifter than rabbits. They are also full of mischief. When it got too cold outside, the squirrels would drop in through Fuquire's mail slot and visit him at home. They'd warm themselves by the fire and finish the old man's crossword puzzles. When Fuquire woke up, he'd chase them out with a broom. Then he'd shake his old man fist and yell, "Those darn squirrels!" Old Man Fuquire thought spring would never come, but eventually the forest bloomed and the birds returned from their winter vacation. Whirly birds chomped on tumbleberries, bonga birds snacked on honey snaps, and the flugelbird ate farfel seeds until he got so full he had to lie down. Fuquire danced through the yard with delight. He set up his easel and brushes. Then he painted the birds till he got blisters on his fingers. Tired and happy, the old man went inside for a quiet afternoon snack. Suddenly, kaboom! Old Man Fuquire spilled cottage cheese all over his suspenders. Kablam! The flugelbird fell out of his nest. Kablooey! The squirrels had to restart their annual chess tournament. The noise was coming from the house across the stream. It was the sound of a small woman unloading enormous crates and moving in. Fuquire's new neighbor was little old Lady Who, the town baker. The only thing sweeter than the pies Who baked was the little old lady herself. Everyone in town loved her, but no one could stand her cat, Muffins. He was a real jerk. Who didn't see things That way, she thought Muffins was a cuddly honey bunny. But after the infamous poodle incident, she decided to move to the forest so that her cat could make some new friends. After unpacking her crates, little old lady Who baked a tumbleberry pie. Then she and Muffins went to say hello to their new neighbor. Fookwire despised conversation, so he hid behind the drapes. The squirrels were scared of the cat, so they hid inside the drain pipes. The birds weren't sure why everyone was hiding, but they stuffed themselves down the chimney just to be safe. Eventually, Who got tired of waiting for Fookwire to answer the door. She walked around front, pushed the pie through the mail slot, and went home. Normally, Old Man Fookwire hated pie, but this one smelled delicious. He took a deep whiff and closed his eyes. When he opened them, the squirrels were licking the plate clean. "Those darn squirrels!" shouted Fookwire. Full and happy, the squirrels stumbled from the house where Muffins ambushed them. The dastardly cat grabbed one squirrel and gave him a wet willy. He snatched another and gave him a noogie. Then he tied two squirrel tails together. Luckily, little old lady Who returned before Muffins could do more. She scooped him up and scratched him under the chin. "Come now, Schnookums," she cooed. "It's time for dinner. You can play with your new friends another day." The next morning, Muffins burst into the yard, terrifying the birds and interrupting Old Man Fookwire's painting. Then the sneaky cat pounced on an unsuspecting group of squirrels and gave them all wedgies. Not an easy thing to do because generally squirrels do not wear underpants. The squirrels were furious. The birds flew up to the treetops and refused to come down. And Old Man Fookwire was so upset, he wrote a letter to the mayor to complain about his new neighbor. That night, the squirrels held a meeting to figure out what to do about the cat next door. They ate cheese puffs and drank ginger ale to help them think. Finally, they had it, the perfect plan. When Muffins came over the next day, the birds were feeding peacefully beneath a tree. A wicked smile came over the cat's fluffy face. He wriggled his haunches and launched himself through the air. The frightened bird swooped into the sky, yanking the string the squirrels had tied to their tail feathers. The string sprang the trap, and the cat was doused with a gallon of freezing cold water. Muffins let out a furious yowl. Old Man Fookwire ran outside when he heard the terrible noise. "Great googly moogly," he exclaimed. "That pathetic wretch is no bigger than a squirrel." It was true. Underneath all his fuzz and fluff, Muffins was nothing but a skinny malink. He lowered his head in embarrassment and sloshed his way home as fast as he could. The squirrels' plan had worked perfectly. They gave each other high fives. The baba bird snickered, the yabba birds chuckled, and the flugel bird enjoyed a hearty guffaw. Fookwire snapped his suspenders with delight. "Those darn squirrels," he said fondly. Old Man Fookwire never warmed up to his new neighbor. He was a grump after all. But little old lady Who became quite good chums with the birds and squirrels. Each Saturday when the bakery closed, she brought all the unsold cakes and pies and cookies home. She set them out on her picnic table, and everyone gathered for a delicious, fun-filled feast. Everyone except the cat next door, who refused to leave the house ever again. Aw, those darn squirrels and that cat next door. Oh, that was a silly one. All right, Tigers, I hope you enjoyed that. Have a great week this week. And remember, it's a great day to be a tiger.